Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
And we are here, Wes. What the hell's up, man?
Dude, so pumped today. I got to come right out of the gate. No small talk right now for me, if that's cool.
Yeah.
15 pounds in 4 weeks. That's the goal.
Oh, that's what you're shooting for.
That's what will be done, Matt.
All right.
15 pounds in 4 weeks. Just want to say it out loud on here. I already told the guys in the scorecard team meeting and the workout session this morning, which also, by the way, this is just being candid. It was killing me that you were waking up earlier than me. So I now wake up officially at 5:40 in the morning.
Oh, dude, don't do it.
Yep, I did it. It was just killing. It was eating at me, dude. You told me about like a month ago, and I was like, son of a bitch.
Well, I was forced. My hand was forced due to a work schedule change in my wife. And today, somehow, she didn't. Usually she wakes up and it's like Mad Max. All the lights are on. Turns, it's just like everyone's awake.
In the bedroom? Lights are on. What? Dude.
Yeah, well, girls don't like you sleeping in after them. I'll tell you that. That's one thing I've learned. If you're still in bed when they get up, it messes them up, man.
Lights on?
They used to. Now I brought it there. I was like, yo, come on. Maybe it was the bathroom light. I don't know. I wake up, cell phone light, quiet, not even full cell phone light. You can scale that thing down, by the way. I scale mine down. I've honestly had days where I didn't know what what color undershirt I was wearing until I took my sweatshirt off at the end of the day.
Full lights is tough, bro.
Man.
But so changed, man.
She blessed me with a quiet morning, and I slept till like 6:30 today, which was nice. But 5 a.m.'s up, dude. The 5 a.m. as soon as I wake up, 10 deep breaths.
5 a.m.
Well, yeah, that's when she gets up. So I usually get up with her.
5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
I got up at 6:30 today because I was blessed.
Normally get up?
Now I'm getting up at 5.
You get up at 5? I thought you told me you get up at 6.
I usually get up at 6. Now she wakes up at 5 a.m. and she wakes me up. So it's not even like I'm trying to get up. I get woken up. So, but I will say, I'm going to see if I can start to try to fall back asleep till 6 so that I can get. I'm weighing my options between getting up early and starting to do stuff versus getting that extra hour of sleep, and I genuinely don't know which one's more valuable right now.
Okay.
I will keep you up to date. I will keep you updated so you're not needlessly getting up that early, dude. There's no need.
Yeah, please. I'll give it a week.
There's no need for this, dude.
So I used to, because my partner and I used to have this. Like, and he's also psychotic, but he's a really nice guy, so he doesn't let you know about that. But I know it. So we were just in this competition to get to the office first. So I was waking up at 4:15 in the morning. Like, that's how bad it got, till eventually it's like, you're just okay. Now you're in the day prior, right? Like, so you have to, but he was falling asleep during work, literally. Like, we'd be sitting there with clients and he would doze off.
What?
And eventually I said, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Which I respect the warrior, but it's like, also we have other competitions, right? Like, the other competition is to grow the company. You can't be racing to the office and then not being able to grow the company. So yes, if you could please confirm if the 5 a.m. is going to be a real thing for you, because I'll do it 100%.
Absolutely.
I'll do 4:30 again easily.
Oh, dude, don't do that.
But the problem is it starts to deteriorate other aspects of life, which I'm perfectly fine with. But I want to know if it's needed.
I will absolutely let you know, because I'm still, as for my thing from last week, I'm still figuring out what my schedule looks like now, because it's my whole schedule got tossed up into the air with my wife returning to work. So I'm still figuring that out. But I'll absolutely let you know, because I'm personally I need that extra hour. I really enjoy that. But it would be sick though to pop up. I keep telling my wife I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm gonna set my alarm 10 minutes before yours, just so I'm up before you. Just wake her
up. Well, I think so 7 a.m. definitely is my Goldilocks time. Like for some reason, if I didn't have an alarm clock, that's where I feel best when I wake up. However, the world I don't like the world getting ahead of me like that. Mm-hmm. So if I can 6 a.m. like ready to go, like 6 a.m. not like wake up at 6 a.m. but like wake up 5:40, 5:50, ready to go do the workout by 6 a.m. I can grind through that, and then plus I just had 2 hours of me time, progress, full out progress, and I love that. Yeah. I'll go earlier if I need to. I swear to God, dude, if you tell me like a month from now, I'd be like, oh, I forgot to update you, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. I'm gonna be furious. Like
we can set it. Well, I get woken up. It's not my fault. So it all depends on if I get woken up at 5 and I'm just like, dude, I'm up, I roll. If I don't, I get up at 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I do think, so like you and I've talked about before, 8 hours of sleep is unbelievably important. Like, so I don't want to pose to the guys like, this is just my stupid ego getting in the way. For sure, 8 hours is optimal for 99.9% of people.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're in bed. We bumped the bedtime up to. It used to be we were finishing up like a TV show at 10. Now it's like 9 o'clock, dude. We're up.
Yep.
We're trudging up the steps at 9, and I might listen to a little something on my phone, and then I pass out like 9:30, 9:45.
Yeah. I think the 9:30 bedtime's nice zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, hell yeah.
So now that we got that out of the way, yeah, I will keep you absolutely updated on what's going on.
Cool.
What is up, dude? What's your plan for this week? What you up to? What's everybody else up to?
Yeah, so really hitting the week hard this week with working out. I've got like I'm just ready. So post COVID, I got COVID, a few months ago. It's kind of hitting lighter workouts with the guys. On the workouts, we were starting at 6:30. Now we're going to move that, or 9:30 Eastern time. We're now going to move those to 6 a.m. go time. And I'm just ready, man. I'm ready to pounce. So I want to make sure I hit all of my workout stuff, probably even getting in 2 workouts a day. Ready for the diet to be spot on, and then also growing the company like always. So I'm about to drop $4,000 on some more marketing this week. And that kind of hurts my gut a little bit. So, but it's just, I tell everybody else, and my mentors have told me, the number one investment you can make is in the investment in yourself. So you got to do that. And kind of riff a little bit on building up your wealth. And this is kind of dangerous territory for me because of my licenses. I can't talk about investments, so I'm not going to do that. By the way, at some point, Matt and I will set up maybe like a separate webinar or something where I can actually talk about investments if anybody is down for that. But certain things, for instance, we can't have comments going, like there's like weird SEC regulations that I can't do that. So we can always set a separate thing if anybody's interested, like once a month or something like that. But anyway, I can tell you for sure, I've been working in finance for 15 years now, that the prerequisite to wealth is building up yourself. I know that sounds corny, but it just helps me remember it. I have to repeat it to myself all the time. Like what a lot of people end up doing is they go to like a real estate investment seminar, or they read some sort of finance book that says, oh, don't drink Starbucks coffee, save that money and invest it. You'll become a bajillionaire, down the road. It's like, no, you won't. Chances are you won't. Maybe you'll be that 1 out of 10,000 guy who does that, who you saved 70% of your salary, even though you're only making $10,000 a year, whatever that is. And by the way, no, like I've been a janitor, I've been a hole digger, I've been all of those things came from, $6 an hour, et cetera. There's nothing wrong with those levels. But what I'm saying is climb up that ladder. I can tell you from what I have seen, especially like from all the clients that we work with, the top of the funnel is where you should be focusing on your craft, becoming as valuable as possible within a given domain, and earning as much money as possible. Everything else there is a filtering down effect. So for instance, I'd rather take the guy who makes $1 million a year, but has terrible habits, spends it all, right? And doesn't even invest, right? I'd rather take him over the guy who makes 10 grand a year, but who invests 90% of it. Yeah, that the latter guy has the fundamental habits of investing down, sure, but he only makes 10 grand a year. Versus, right, you're not going to be able to move the needle. It's just math, right? It's like what you invest is going to be a percentage of what you earn, right? That's why I'm calling it a funnel, right? If you make 100 grand, you're not going to be able to invest 200 grand, obviously. And I know sounds like so much common sense, but it's not common practice by any means, because people read these books and they're like, oh, like I just won't buy Starbucks anymore. It's like, no, that's not going to move the needle for you. Similarly, what a lot of people will do is they'll go to like a real estate investment seminar, or they'll hear something, oh, my buddy flips houses or whatever. It's like, look, yes, that could work, but I'm telling you, it's way more important in my eyes to spend time on your craft, not have your craft be investments, unless you're really into that. Like for me, that's what mine is. Like, I love the game of investing. I love teaching people. Like, that's what the business is, but it's not a part-time hobby. Because what I have seen, what happens with most people is they don't focus on their core craft and they go and dabble over in investments, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're taking time away from their core craft where they could earn $500K a year eventually. But instead, they're trying to flip houses or whatever. Again, I'm not making any comments about investments. I'm just using generic examples. Like, my vote would be you focus purely on, like, first, focus purely on what is your thing that you love doing and building that up. And then once you have a firm base, the rest will take care of itself. Like, then you can learn about fundamental investing and so on. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, you're not going to transcend your own circumstances. Like, investment isn't a vehicle to transcend your own circumstances. You're not going to it only improves with your situation.
Yeah, 100%. So for instance, I mean, I've seen so many people do this, right? Like if you have 10 hours, my vote, like for me, let's just say for myself, I would much more spend 10 hours on my next license or the next thing than spending the equivalent 10 hours trying to go and dabble in some sort of speculative asset that I know nothing about, but it sounds really cool. Right, yeah. That 10 hours, and then that 10 hours is going to grow. Like, okay, then next week, what about the next 10 hours? I'd way, my money will be, I will double down on building up my skill and my value to my industry rather than trying to become a dabbler in something else, because that's just a gold shiny object, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of what I was thinking about this morning, which is, the idea of taking a more kind of stewardship approach rather than seeker of like never-ending personal gain, which, obviously there's nothing wrong with gaining for yourself, but it's like, if you take the approach where you're just trying to take care of things and do them the best as possible rather than trying to game everything towards I don't want to call it cheap wins or anything, but if you just truly, like you're saying, try to make sure that you are irreplaceable due to the nature of your skill and dedication, then that material kind of stuff will follow. It will naturally kind of follow because you become more in demand. And there's a marked difference between doing that and people notice that versus everyone who's just trying to get a promotion so they get to the next level. It's like, no, actually carry out the function you were doing as well as before you trash it. See if you can master it. You can always leave the job if you're like, hey, I don't want to do this. I want to do other things. Cool. But I used to fall into that where I'd be like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And it's like, well, you're not doing any of them. So it's like, try to at least do something you're decent at and get good at something before you're like, and honestly, from my problem too was that I was doing things I wasn't inherently interested in. And, I had to really figure out how to get into the lane that I was interested in. And, I can tell you it was something of like a 15-year process to barely scratch, that combined with, good fortune and all the other stuff. So yeah, I feel like you were saying, Wes, I feel like there's a fundamental error is just skipping yourself as an agent of kind of cause and personal growth. It always has to exist outside of you. And it's that thing, like you were saying, here comes this new thing. Look at the chart. It's gone up this much, blah, 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 blah. That stuff's cool or whatever. But it's like, then what? What are you going to do after that? You're going to try to find another one. Is that going to be your life? Just chasing things you don't understand until, for aimless material gain that you don't even know what to do with other than be like, check it out. It's, not to be a dick. I've done the same stuff, but it's like, that's something I really think of for me personally, when I'm thinking about what I'm up to or what do I want to do, I don't know why. It puts me in a much more secure space when I think about the idea of stewardship rather than constant gain, where it's like, let me see if I can be a steward of my own body. That whole thing of like, say like I'm not my body, I have a body. So it's like, well, let me see if I can take care of my body, do the good things for my body. I'll be a steward of my physical space, which is like the Jordan Peterson thing. Let me I'm not bragging, just clean my basement. It actually it almost startled me. I came down, there was nothing on the surfaces, and I was like, ugh, it was disorienting. Man. So it's like, yeah, man, it's like focus on that kind of stuff rather than just. I feel like we're kind of drowned in the message that we can somehow sling ourselves out of our situation with like a one fell thing, and it's like, dude, it's just a multi-year process, and the way around it really is to find something you enjoy doing, so that thing that everyone experiences as a slog is not a slog for you. And that can be the thing you're doing. You can find a purpose for doing the thing you're doing that makes it not seem like that. I think that's the true trick, man. And then people come at you with all this stuff. Oh, dude, check this out. This thing's gone up 2,000%. It's like, dude, I genuinely don't care. It's like, yeah, if I had like a Tony Stark house, great. That would be cool. I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool. But it's like, I am so into the things I'm doing. Those things can just pass me by. And I don't feel like that weird FOMO of like, I'm going to miss out. It's like, I don't care.
Yep. 100%, man. I mean, one of the things that we talk about, Matt, and when you and I have Rhomas University up, this will be one of the things, is developing your core identities, like the characters you want to be. One of them is a husband. The other one is, maybe a brother or a father, etc. One of those things, and you pick them. But one of those things that I suggest for all of us men to consider is one of those characters be a craftsman. Like, bring back the old school craftsmanship. When you have that, regardless if you own your own company or if you're working for a company, when you consider yourself to be a craftsman, it changes the game. So a lot of people have asked me, it's like, oh, well, how did you get to Wall Street? And I can tell you the quick answer is I was a craftsman. And this might sound silly, and this is the cool thing. When you're a craftsman, you pick whatever the fuck you want. So me, one of the crafts that I did as a craftsman was Microsoft Excel. I love Excel. Like, it's unreal. If I could have a group together to talk about Excel every day, I would. I just don't think there's enough of a population to do that. Anyway, one of the things that we got that I got in an interview was this guy. And when you have Wall Street style interviews, borderline everybody's a hard ass who interviews you. They all just try to make you mess up. Like, one of the things that was done was they came in with a piece of paper and a pencil. And they started the clock, and you had an hour, and you had to answer all these probability questions. And it was two people sitting in front of you. They barely said a word. They just told you the questions, and then you had to answer them. It was like a movie, so much. And they meant to do it to stress you out. So anyway, fun fact: one of the questions was, if you have six people you have six chairs at a table, you have six people waiting outside. What's the probability they come and they sit in an age order? Either way, clockwise or counterclockwise. And then they give you a pencil and piece of paper, and then you got to calculate the probability in front of them and give them the answer. No calculators or anything like that, right? So that's just an example. And then they put their hands on the table and they look at you. Anyway, but one of the questions was tell me, they use some obscure formula in Excel, because Excel is very important in finance. So anyway, they use this obscure formula. Now, I would imagine that this is probably one of the reasons that I got the job. Obviously, I'm just guessing, but it's probably one of the reasons that I got the job versus a lot of my competitors. The guy asked me, and he said, hey, tell me about this formula. And I said, well, I don't know what that formula is. And chances are, if I don't know what it is, it's not really relevant. And because I've been a craftsperson with Excel for a decade, let's say. So I said that to him, and he kind of was like, who do you think you're talking to, sort of a thing. And I said, well, explain to me what the formula does. So he explained to me, and I said, okay, well, why would you do that? Doesn't make any sense for you to use that formula versus this more efficient formula. So yeah, I don't know the answer because, again, that's not relevant. And the amount of respect that was built from that answer, because he knew, right? Like, he's just picking a random thing to see if I know it. But as a craftsperson, you could say, well, why would I use that tool over there when I use this tool every single day and it's infinitely more effective, right? A craftsperson can respond like that. But if you're just going after a job because you need the job, right, you're toast. You're sitting, you're on the field and a sniper's looking at you. You're done immediately. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if you own your own business or if you're going for a job. If you are committed to be a craftsperson, then you're doing the stuff on the weekends. You're doing it for fun. Nobody can compete with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's even the one thing I'm like so happy I learned how to do was when I was between jobs and I started working with Andrew, with Spud, and he taught me how to paint houses. And it's like, I always think about it. Every now and again, I just go, well, it's nice to know that I have a skill. It's like I checked a box by learning how to do that, where like no matter what, I can, if I need to, always go and make some kind of money. And it was like, and then there's just like the skill of being able to paint your own daughter's bedroom, all that kind of stuff. It was a skill, and it's like just learn something, man. Just learn, because it's like if people, I happen to be one of the people who actually do enjoy painting. Like I love painting houses. I actually do kind of enjoy it. But it's a skill. It's something I know how to do, and it's like when you have a skill, you're valuable. If you don't have any skills, you're still valuable in the sense that you're a human being, but it's like you're not bringing anything to the table really, and it's like it's kind of on you to develop a skill in some area, and it's like you can move on to another area, but it just really helps to learn how to master a thing. Because I didn't really master anything at the point when I learned how to do that, to like paint a straight line on the ceiling without tape. I still like am so prideful about it. I love it. I'm so happy I'm able to do that. It's like it's like a silly little
drawing a circle. How do you even do that?
Dude, it's just it's a weird muscle repetition. It's a weird confidence thing where you're like, you just have to know you're not going to hit the ceiling, and then which calms you down. If I do hit the ceiling, I know how to fix that. And next, after that, you stop hitting the ceiling because you're just like whatever, and you kind of your body relaxes. It sounds like a very funny and like whatever thing, but for me, it was like eye opening to just be able to do that, and like because you step back. It's so weird because when you're doing it, and I think painting, especially when it's called cutting in, when you cut the ceiling into the wall, when you're up against, it's almost a measure in confidence, because when you do it and you're 4 inches from it with your eyes, and it doesn't look perfect. You're doing it and it kind of looks like you're like, I don't know, but when you step down and step 5 feet away, it looks awesome. So it's almost like you have to be able to be like, that's done, and then look a person in the eye and be like, you're done in this room, and they might like kind of start to micro inspect it, or they might just be like, yeah, it looks great. It's really strange, but yeah, it's like, the more things like that you can do, the better. Writing, that was something I feel like I have, man, I obviously would not say mastered, but I've gained proficiency in the area of writing. Like I'm able to do it, and I was always kind of like, I don't know if I could charge. If someone was like, hey, I want something written, like I'll pay you, I'd be like, no problem. There wouldn't be any weird like, can I do this? I'd be like, yeah, here's how much it is. I got you. So it's just like the more of those, the better.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would definitely say for sure you've gained a mastery over writing, definitely, 100%. And I think that's a great point. There are certain things that should be non-negotiables that every man should master. One of those things, definitely writing, speaking. Yeah, that's probably. I would also say math, like arithmetic, at the very minimal.
Yeah.
And a surface level understanding of probability / statistics. Doesn't have to be so deep, but that's probably what I would say if I had to think about it, like are some really core skills to master. And the cool thing is, if anybody's listening, like, oh, I'm bad at math or whatever, like it doesn't matter. Whatever age you are, you can get really good at the fundamental practical versions of math that you need to. Like the amount of people that I sit down with, and it's like, oh, give them a 20% tip, and they're like, yeah.
No, that's absolutely true. And also the statistics and probability thing is like without, and again, I have a understanding as to how it works in general. I can't like utilize the equations. I understand like, rejecting the null hypothesis and all of that stuff. But like without that, you really can't understand what's going on in the world in any sound sense. Like you definitely can't. Even if you do know probability and statistics, there's like a lot of the a study can be published, and whether or not it's valid, there's always kind of wiggle room. But it's like if you don't understand how the scientific studies work, then you're just reading headlines and instantly believing them, and just if you're not aware, you're not aware of it, but just kind of praying that they're not warping your reality away from the truth. And it's like that was something when I went to go when I went back to school and I was like, oh, I don't want to. I was kicking and screaming about having to take a statistics class. I'm like, I hated statistics, but they really taught the theory behind it, and it was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So yeah, like that. I agree, man. I think it would be if people were if the if people were informed about how statistics actually work in a more widespread scale, you would have way less confusion because it's like,
Oh, dude.
a new study finds eating an egg every day causes a heart attack. That's a very unsettling headline. It's like, well, what's the sample size? Oh, 400 people. Okay, I can literally just throw that in the trash. I can wipe my ass with that. It doesn't matter. That's like, who cares? Even if there was 4 million people, it's like, okay, well, do they control for age? Well, no, they only tested 80-year-olds. Okay, so yeah, throw that away. There's like, once you realize that, it just kind of demystifies things and kind of takes the shock value out of the news and all that stuff. Where, that way it's like you were saying, Wes, it's like, you want to focus on like being a father, a friend, whatever. It's like if you're opening your phone every day and freaking out about things that you don't even understand how they're being verified, then it's like, not to be a dick because no one ever teaches this stuff. That's not the point of it. But it's like, that's going to throw you off a little bit. There's enough stuff to throw you into a tizzy if like reading the news is one of them. It's like, well, dude, like, in my opinion, it's like, just drop that, man. There's way more immediate concerns.
Dude, you are spot on. One of the things I want to add to that is mastering your psychology as well, just psychology in general. It's like Charlie Munger says. He says there's only a handful of domains that are really important in life. You should master all of them. And somebody asked him one day, they're like, well, how do you have the time to master those? He's like, well, it's pretty simple. I don't golf. I don't go out golfing with my buddies for 4 hours on Saturday and for 4 hours on Sunday. I don't watch I don't watch football for 6 hours on Sunday, right? Instead, I go and I read books and I master this stuff. And Matt, one of the things I think what you're saying is spot on. If you combine number one, if you educate yourself on statistics and you also have a functioning knowledge of psychology, and if you combine that with meditation, what meditation does is it allows you to slow down the stimulus, right? Like almost like in the Matrix, like everything slows down. At least that's what it does for me. It allows me to slow it down. So somebody says, oh my, like, have you heard like eating eggs is the best food that you could eat? Okay, great. Now, normally, because I haven't been eating eggs, in fact, that's like counter to what I've read, right? Normally, my brain would freak out. Right? It's like, well, oh my God, what do you mean? I've been doing the wrong thing. Or let's say the inverse. Let's say the inverse. Oh, eggs are the most carcinogenic food that you can eat. If cancer is going to kill you. Right? Obviously, I'm just making all this up. Let's say I've been eating eggs. So now I'm really in a fearful state because I've been eating eggs, let's just say every single day. Again, not true, but just an example. Okay. So, but what meditation allows me to do is like, you just sent that stimulus at me, right? You threw it over to me, that ball, right? The ball slows down because meditation allows you to slow down and not react to something. It allows you to slow it down and respond. Well, then I can analyze it. Then I can put it through my prefrontal cortex instead of my limbic system and say, okay, number one, has Matt been historically right with me? Might not sound like very popular, like of a statement, but it's very true. Like that's what my brain says. Okay, this person telling me this thing, has he been historically correct? If he hasn't been historically correct, chances are I'm not going to spend any time on talking about it. I think we all have those friends who just tell you just wrong things. I don't know how else to put it. Like they're just wrong, like all the time. I've got no time to think about what they say. Not being a jerk. I've got a lot of friends. It's like I'm not going to get my source of information from them. Anyway, but then from there, if it does pass that smell test, then it's like, okay, then going through, Matt, what you're saying, right? A working level of statistics and saying, okay, where was the study? Where was it who funded it? What was the sample size? All of these types of things. How was it done? And what does the other balance of information say? Right. And that is a very simple way of using statistical analysis to make decisions and also to calibrate your feelings. But if you don't have that, it's like, holy shit, man. Then the meditation, yeah, you could be really good at meditation, but if you don't know how to think through things, you're going to really have to fight hard. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're adding too many pounds to the bench press. It's like, yeah, you're trying to bench 500 pounds. It's never going to work. But if you can reduce that through the analysis and think about what makes sense, all of a sudden you've reduced that poundage by half.
Yeah. Well, it's also one of the main things too, and there could be people who are like, yeah, I'm just not going to research statistics, which is also like, whatever, you don't have to. If that's the case, I think you can also do a thing where it's like, you can almost just run them through logical, like whenever I hear things about like, kids need, like we're buying baby food. Oh, this food packet has, DHA and all these things and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, the human race has been around for thousands of years before people were adding DHA 9 to like apple puree. So let's just get we'll be fine. You can almost use this on a gut level where you're like, or just eat, if you're eating a thing and you notice you're like, oh, my stomach feels a little tumultuous. Well, take that thing and don't eat that. Move on. Like you don't need, you can also do this in a more kind of a immediate experience and kind of intuitional way. But, it does, I really do think, well, what you're saying, Wes, like having that basic understanding of statistics, even if you just watch like a Khan Academy, I think Khan Academy is a good place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Watch a Khan Academy. The what?
Or Crash Course.
Crash
a little
Course.
Bit more entertaining.
Khan Academy is they can be kind of boring to watch. But I had to write a paper on the national tax system. And I was dreading it. Like, this is going to suck. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And I remember I think it was one of my favorite papers I've ever written, because I went and I researched it. I finally understood how much tax revenue we have and what's compared to our GDP and compared to the other GDPs of other countries and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, to gain just a basic understanding of these things, I think it's a good thing to do. It's a fun activity. And again, being that we're right now, one of our main obstacles in terms of like, I would almost say in terms of like mental health, although maybe the connection is a little tenuous, is the fact that we are wired into like this very purposely mentally kind of destabilizing informational network, where it's like, again, the algorithms feed off of whether or not things are like infuriating or just like we're giving information that's designed to kind of throw us into a tailspin, or at least enrage us, because that's the stuff that gets bumped to the top. So it's like, if you can again, a basic understanding of statistics is almost a Keanu Reeves, like, bending backwards over bullets thing, where someone sends you a thing like, can you believe this? And you're like, the more sensational it is, I can almost assume that it's probably not true. Probably, and if it turns out to be true, that's fine. But again, just being like, let me, before I react to this right away, let me just kind of like slow it down by being like, that might not be true. Even saying like, this might not be true. Because otherwise you get it and you're like, what? And you send it and, and it just spread that weird thing to more people. So yeah, I think that's going to be one of the challenges going forward that nobody really had to think about. And we've talked about this before, Wes, of like, what does your informational diet look like? What does it look like? And, in what way are you participating with like the vast sea of information we now have access to that people didn't have beforehand? And has that kind of altered your perspective or skewed your perspective a little bit, or distorted your worldview? And it's okay if it has. It's like, nobody else was subject to a little box in their pocket that send custom-made, hits of information at them. But it's, I think that's going to be something people are going to have to learn how to do, like kind of, use it as a tool and like stop being sucked into it, if that makes sense.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, well, I think if we think about it like this, let's use the example that you were talking about. So if you have a worldview, number one of the things you said was phenomenal. Understand how long humans have been around and evolving, and that will give you a general idea on the statistics of, or at least a statistical framework of making decisions in your everyday life. So Matt, you're spot on. Okay, humans have been around for, let's say, this long, like an enormous amount of time. Let's even say our ancestors, pre-humans. You could argue that we've been evolving for billions of years. Let's just say that. But let's just even cut it down. Let's say we're wrong. Let's say it's millions of years, depending on how nitpicky we want to get. Okay, millions of years. Well, right, industrialized food has been around for, let's say humans have been around for this long. Industrialized food has been around for like a quarter, a fraction of a centimeter of that. So yeah, do you think that you should be taking, right, that particular supplement or that particular chemical when that's never existed naturally right before? So yeah, I'd rather just eat the apple, or I'd rather eat the snack that is only made of the apple, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
right? And despite what the front of the label tells me. So that's just a one of the ways of kind of using some sort of statistical framework to make a decision. Because for a lot of these things, you have to use your gut, right? You might not be able to go and find studies because maybe it's a new thing. It's just like, okay, yeah, but like humans survived without that before, so I'm not going to do it. The other thing, I think, is really thinking through things and understanding psychological frameworks as well. So, for instance, if you read a lot of psychology books, tell you that human beings have a negativity bias of 5-1, right? Like we are that much more biased on a positive to negative thing. This is why the standardized loss aversion test is: if I give you $1, tell me on a scale of 0 to 10 how you feel. Right? Let's say you say it's a level 5, okay, because you gave me $1. But if I take $1 away from you, how do you feel? Right? Maybe it's a level 10 because I just stole something from you. Well, it's the same unit, so why the disproportion? So when you know that, then you understand. Well, if human beings have a negativity bias of 5-1, meaning you have to work exponentially harder positively to counterbalance that negativity thing. Well, then you know why then the media companies will use negative headlines way more often. Why? Because it's easier. It's easier for me to tap into your psychology when I say warning, right, versus opportunity. It just is, right? It's the same exact thing as the dollar thing. So then you understand, okay, well, what is the media's objective? The media's objective is to get eyeballs on their media so that way they can sell advertising space. Well, obviously, what are they going to do? Because they have a competitive landscape, they are going to put out more negative things, because if they don't, their competitors are. And who's ever putting out the negative things, that's what people are going to watch, period. My grandma watches the news. I swear she watches the news 26 hours a day. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. Every little thing. It's like, okay, you understand this one thing. Maybe you do need to know that. Maybe you need to know the weather. Okay, but the rest of the other stuff, why?
Yeah.
It's just attractive because it's negative.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I swear by in terms of the news, if something is of immediate importance, somebody will bring it to your attention. Like you can totally outsource the task of the news. I mean, every now and again, I'll check in for like to bullshit and mess around about stuff on Matt and Shane's. But that's it. I'm looking at it on almost an entertainment basis. I look at it and it's like, and then you start seeing like, you know, when you start to especially get into the fact that there are such things as PR companies, then people can leverage a sort of kind of competitive advantage to ensuring that certain things get covered in the news, you know, for whatever reasons. But like, you know, like I'll open up my Google News on my phone and it's like Eminem refuses to be canceled and here's his new single. I'm like, that's not the news. That's a commercial for Eminem. That probably like a PR or some sort of representative, you know, agency kind of. You can know, especially once you understand how like I've seen people in business be like, oh, I'm opening a new thing. I'm going to call my friend at the newspaper. He's my friend. He'll come down and do a story on it. And it's like, it's kind of an innocent thing. It's like, you know, he genuinely is his friend and he'll be like, yeah, I'll come, you know, try to do a cover of it. And if that exists, like, you can't tell me that there's not people being like, hey man, I think it's time for you to go to Hawaii again. Here's something I'm thinking you could cover would be cool. Like, I guarantee that happens. And it's like, I'm not even bugging out about it. I honestly, as crooked as I am inherently, I would do that too if I was in that position. I would 100% go to Hawaii and be like, whatever you want, bro. So it's like, yeah, man, it's just again, putting a major emphasis, like you were saying, Wes, it all kind of ties back to like, what are you up to? Can you articulate what you're up to? Do you know why you're up to what you're up to? And does the thing you're doing, how does it make you feel? And if it's, again, the fact that the majority of us are in kind of like this slog that they resent sucks. And I don't like that. And it's like, you know, can you kind of wiggle out of that and find kind of greener pastures? I do think it's possible. It's just very, very difficult. And at every turn, someone's going to start saying, no, dude, forget about that. I tried that, blah, 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 blah. And like you were saying, Wes, you have to respectfully be like, okay, but like, you know, you can respect people while also being like, I'm not going to trust your opinion on this thing. I'm going to actually try to see if I can verify it for myself.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about it, because this rabbit hole can go pretty deep. Ray Dalio, one of the largest hedge fund managers in the world, arguably the largest, he has a decision-making filter. So whenever, and I might be messing this up, but I believe these are the facts. Like when he brings his investment team to the table, everybody gives their opinion and then he filters it through a weighted, historically accurate model per person. So for instance, if you've been historically wrong, right, the words that you say, like your recommendation is then put through a model of, well, you've only been right 50% of the time. So I'm going to, yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm going to decrease the amount of weight that your opinion matters. Yeah, and they do it mathematically, right? So you get to see it. It's pretty wild. If you want to take it to the extreme, that is what I think people should do. It's like, oh, if Uncle Rick has been historically wrong, I probably shouldn't listen to Uncle Rick a whole lot until maybe he ends up being right. Maybe he starts reading some books. But until then, I'm not going to go chase down the rabbit holes or chase the rabbits that he asked me to chase, because Uncle Rick smokes a lot of whatever and doesn't really read a lot of good stuff, and he just likes to create havoc at the family barbecue.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, especially with like there's kind of a payoff to bringing some sort of sensationalized piece of information to somebody else, and it's it's just recognizing like, hey, no disrespect to you, but it's like that's not the game I'm playing right now. That's all.
Yeah,
it's like I'm up to this. I'm up to this. You're up to that, and yeah, I'm good. But yeah, that also takes a kind of solid sense of self to be able to be like, because it's almost kind of disorienting to be like, wait, what? And to be like, whoa, I can completely disregard this thing. And it's not even like a bad thing. It's just like, yeah, I don't care. Like I genuinely don't care about that. It's like, I'll revisit that later. But right now, I think my time would be much better spent if I just like focused on providing to the immediate needs of my family as best as I can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, working in the industry I work in, I get baited oftentimes to talk about politics. And my checkmate comment to that, and it's just truthful, it's like, I know you want to talk about this, and I'm happy to talk about the core things. Like if you want to talk about capitalism or if you want to talk about whatever it is, like we can talk about the core because then you can know my opinion. But if you're going to ask me about the political players and he did this and she did that and all that stuff, I'm going to tell you I know zero. And that's not because it's actually selective ignorance. Like I've made that choice to not research it because I did try to research it and educate myself in the past. And I came up with zero results.
Yeah.
Like literally zero, because I would try to go read something. It's like this party puts out this information. This party puts out that information. And then I'm just left with, I don't know what's true and what's not. And it doesn't seem like anybody else does either. And when I say that, nobody else, it doesn't seem like anybody else does either, they kind of take that as a hint. It's like, I'm kind of thinking that you don't either. Like you're just probably going to tell me what Fox News taught you this morning or whatever other news station taught you this morning. And I'm not really interested in having that conversation because I don't see it as particularly valuable.
Yeah, there's a leap of faith to be had at some point, where to be like, well, look, because you are getting conflicting information a lot, and it's one of it resonates as true, or the other one resonates as false, and it's like, I don't know, you can go along with it. But then again, like you were saying, it's like you're dealing with agendized bodies who will distort information for their gain and have no problem doing so. Like, look, we got to win. And it's like, so again, it's like, why place all of your attention to that when you can place it to like what you're up to, just like you're saying, Wes, and like just investing in yourself and really kind of investing your time in like what will actually, what could, like I love the phrase, move the needle for yourself, your family, or whoever you're trying to do it for. Just what could happen? What could that look like, rather than being like, dude, did you see that new bill they're trying to this and that? And it's like, again, if that bill is taking away like your personal Medicare or whatever, totally understand. But for me, it's like I feel kind of unaffected by a lot of that stuff. So it's like I'd rather, because there's this whole thing like, oh, you don't care, that you're kind of, you just care about yourself and you don't care about, the collective or whatever. It's like, no, I think I could make a better contribution if I dedicated my time and attention in a way where I kind of like one-to-one interfered with like my direct community and people around me, rather than trying to like digest some 5,000 page bill that nobody read and like stand outside of the Capitol with a fucking stick. It's like, yeah, I'm good on that. I'm going to try to do stuff that actually helps people like right now.
Yeah, I had this exact conversation a few months ago when these conversations were really happening. It's like, oh my God, if he wins or if he wins, blah, blah, blah. And I got a little agitated because this person, I felt like a particular, we're pretty close. And I told him, I said, look, at the end of the fucking day, I am going to do exactly what I did last month and the month prior and the month prior and the month prior. I am not going to use this as an excuse to not build for my family. And if you are doing that, I suggest you take a different fucking plan, right? Like all of the things that you just told me are completely useless to me, to yourself, and to everybody else who you've told them to in the last 2 months. Don't get that wrong. You can keep on doing it if you'd like, but I'm telling you, it's not going to put food on the table for your children. So you either get over it or you keep going down this road, and then you explain to me 5 years from now how the next person or the next person or the next person is your reason for your lack of success, period. And I'm the only person that will tell you that, but just remember we had this conversation. And maybe he changed. But that's the reality. That's, I think, what we all need to tell ourselves. Do not rely on other men or other women. Doesn't matter. Do not rely on anybody else, especially somebody you have no idea. You just see him on the fucking news. He's got zero to do with your success. Zero.
Yep. Agreed. But yeah, dude. Well, dude, it's 12 o'clock. I have to relieve my babysitter.
All right, man.
What's going on for the week? What's the plan?
Same thing. Keep growing the business. I want to have spent the $4,000 on the marketing. That's
nice.
Really been bugging me. But then the other thing I want to get done is updating. I want to implement this new thing in the investment business, which is reaching out to people more, reaching out to clients more, touching them, letting them know when I review their accounts, and giving them a personalized touch. So I want to do that every single month. That's my commitment. This will be the first month that I'm trying to get that done.
Hell yeah, man. Nice.
Yeah. And guys in the comments, let us know what you're calling your shots for. And also, Matt, can I throw something out there? I want to see if we're interested in this. Having a hot seat section of the show, where we bring one of the men on who is dealing with a thing, or they have a question that they need to get over a little hurdle, and then we can all give our comments if that's cool.
I think we actually absolutely should do that Monday and Friday.
Hell yeah.
Please let us know right away. We'll do a little banter. We could even structure this, segmentize this a little bit, but I think that should be kind of a absolutely reoccurring and constant part of this. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Because again, it's a circle, man. It's for us all. There's no gurus here. It's just all to help each other advance. So I think a hot seat session would be nice. Cool.
Right,
and I'm totally up for being on the hot seat as well.
Always.
So Matt, how about you? What are your shots, dude?
Last week was good. I nailed everything except for the thing I tacked on at the very end of the week, which I consciously was like, no, I'm actually going to save that for this week, because it was like a dad or family time kind of thing. So this week, my main focus is getting the stuff that I've been working on onto the Rhomas University. So that'll be the main focus. I'm going to get all those on and get that ball rolling.
I'm so pumped for that, dude. I'm so pumped for that.
Very, very excited about that. So I'm going to get that going. I think I'm going to start like a little small personal blog, because we talked about that before. I want to start just kind of every time I come out of my meditation, I journal, and I'm like, well, I might as well just like share those thoughts, because I kind of like doing that. So that'll be another focus. And then once hold on. Yeah, there's that, the exercise, really getting down my morning routine. I mean, it's all right, but I need to like cement it down. And then the last thing is I'm going to try to get a project on the stuff, all the video editing for the thing, me, Butterly, and Sydney Gantu, Stoner Dad. So I'm going to try to finish that this week as well. And then after that, next week, I'm going 2 weeks at a time. I'm going to start a new writing project. I haven't decided what I'm going to give my full attention to writing-wise yet, but I'm excited. So,
hell yeah, man. Awesome. You're crushing it, dude.
Thank you, bro.
All right, dudes. Everybody crush the week. We'll see you guys on Friday. We'll see the scorecard team and the workout team tomorrow morning.
Hell yeah.
6 a.m., not 6:30.
Yep, and it's 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep, 9 a.m. Eastern. And, of course, if the guys who are used to showing up at 9:30 a.m., that's cool too, or 6:30 a.m., you can do that. Just know that I will be on there at 6 a.m., and if Matt tells me he's waking up at 5, those might automatically move to 5 a.m. We'll see.
All right, later, man.
All right, later, dudes.
See ya.